Blue and red lights flashed across my windshield like some kind of twisted fireworks. And there she was, standing in the middle of the street with her hand on her hip, waving at the cops like she owned the whole block. "Officer! Over here! Tow his car now!" she barked, pointing straight at my sedan. My car wasn't blocking a hydrant, wasn't blocking a driveway, wasn't breaking a single damn rule. It was parked in front of my own house. And yet, in that moment, with neighbors peeking out through their curtains and the cop's flashlight glinting in the evening air, I felt like a criminal about to be hauled off for the crime of living my life. I had just come home from the hardware store where I worked all day, back aching, boots still dusty, and all I wanted was to sit with my wife, Claire, and let our old lab, Duke, flop down at my feet while I caught my breath. Instead, I was facing off with Karen, the self-appointed queen of Lakewood Shores HOA, who had decided that my car offended her sense of aesthetic order. She shoved a paper at the officer, insisting I was supposed to park 3 houses down on Birch Circle to make the street look cleaner for photos. Photos. I almost laughed, but my hands were shaking too hard. I kept my voice even. "It's parked in front of my house, that's all." The officer glanced at me, then at her, then at the map she was thrusting under his nose. Behind him, the lake shimmered in the peach glow of sunset. Neighbors' silhouettes filling windows like it was some community theater drama they'd all bought tickets for. And then, because apparently humiliation wasn't enough, a white SUV with the HOA logo rolled up. Out stepped Mr. Daniels, the HOA president. Crisp blazer, calm voice, the guy who thought he was Solomon handing out justice, with Ms. Green from compliance clutching her giant binder. Karen's smile stretched wide, like she'd already won. "You're welcome," she said smugly, as if she was saving civilization from my 4-door sedan. The officer asked for rules. Ms. Green flipped through tabs, and I swear you could feel the neighborhood lean forward as if waiting for a referee to blow the whistle. And when she read it out loud, residents may park along their own curb unless blocking driveways, hydrants, or mailboxes. I felt my heart shoot up into my throat. Karen's smile cracked. The officer turned to her, calm as stone. "Ma'am, this isn't a police matter. He's not breaking the law." And there it was, the first crack in her empire. But Karen didn't back down. Oh no, she doubled down, shrieking for fines, screaming that the HOA wasn't doing its job, threatening to call another department. Neighbors started stepping onto porches now, holding salad bowls, leaning on canes, kids pausing on scooters, and everyone heard her meltdown. That night, after the crowd broke up, I sat inside with Claire, trying to paint over the day with soft brush strokes and jokes about how ridiculous it all was. But the truth was, I felt small, like maybe I should have just moved the damn car to avoid the circus. Maybe I was the problem for not bending. Claire squeezed my hand and said, "You stood your ground. That matters." Still, I couldn't shake the thought. What if kindness really did mean giving in, just to keep the peace? That question hung heavy, twisting my gut. I hated conflict. And yet, something inside me knew if I gave her this inch, she'd take the whole street. The storm didn't pass. By morning, it had only grown teeth. Someone scratched "Move Now" into my car door with chalk. Grooves etched beneath the white dust that cut through the paint. My stomach dropped when I saw it, like the ground had tilted. Claire gasped. Duke whined at my side. And all I could think was, this isn't about a car anymore. This is war. I called the non-emergency line, filed a report, sent photos to the HOA across the street. Karen stood on her porch, pretending innocence, her eyes glinting with something sharp. She tilted her head at the damage and asked sweetly, "What happened?" I bit down on my tongue to keep from shouting. "We're finding out," I said flatly. That evening, things escalated again. A compliance auditor showed up unannounced, clipboard in hand, saying they'd received an emergency complaint that I was building unapproved structures in my garage, maybe even running a business. It was laughable. All I had were shelves stacked with paint cans and holiday boxes. But we let her in, showed every corner. The auditor walked out saying it was unfounded. And who do I see across the lawn, arms crossed, lurking like a vulture? Karen. She didn't need to say a word. Her eyes screamed it. I'll find another way. By the time the HOA scheduled a hearing, I was strung tight. I rehearsed my words, scribbled notes on index cards like a kid, prepping for debate. But nothing could have prepared me for the twist. The meeting was packed, neighbors filling folding chairs, whispers buzzing like hornets. Karen stood, reading her statement about how she cared for the neighborhood more than anyone else, about how order kept everything safe, about how people like me ruined it all. Her hands trembled just slightly as she clutched the paper. Then it was my turn. I spoke from the gut. I want beauty too. I want safety too. But what I don't want is a neighbor calling the cops on me for parking in front of my own home. I don't want to be threatened because I didn't obey someone's personal plan. My voice shook, but not from fear this time, from finally telling the truth. And then, like lightning splitting a tree, her own son Tyler burst into the room, phone in hand, pale as a ghost. "Mom!" he gasped. "The video's on the neighborhood app, the gate camera. It shows your SUV hitting the sign." The room froze. You could hear the wall clock tick. You could hear the lake's soft lap through the windows. And you could hear the sound of Karen's world collapsing. "That's not me," she stammered. But Tyler's voice cracked. "I was in the car. You told me not to say anything." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Even Mr. Daniels looked rattled. And in that moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The board announced their decision with grim faces. Misuse of services, harassment, failure to report damage, formal fines issued on the spot, suspension from all committees for 6 months. Karen, who once ordered people around like pawns, stood there clutching the pink citation slip like it was burning her hand. Her face red, her shoulders shaking. She tried to argue, something about saving the community, about neat lawns meaning safe homes, but no one bought it anymore. The mask had fallen. The neighbors who once cowered under her rules now watched her shrink in silence. Claire's fingers found mine, and for the first time in weeks, I felt steady. Walking out of that clubhouse, I didn't feel like cheering. I didn't feel like celebrating. I felt the heavy, satisfying kind of relief you get when justice finally tips the scales. Karen trailed out behind us, eyes down, paper crumpled in her fist, her power draining away with each step. Neighbors parted as she passed, not with respect, but with wary distance. The queen of HOA order had fallen, not with a bang, but with the sound of her own lies echoing back at her. And me? I walked home with Claire and Duke under the cool lake air, shoulders lighter, head high, not because I'd won, but because The truth had stood tall when it mattered. And if there's anything I've learned from all of this, it's that rules might keep order, but only kindness keeps community. And that's the lesson I'm leaving you with. Here on HOA Drama Unfolded.